At Bethel, we believe God has big plans for your student. We're about bringing transparency and clarity to the college search and enrollment process so you can focus on what really matters, your student's education and their future. We've simplified our tuition and created the Bethel Promise Grant to make college more straightforward and affordable for families. This series of short videos brings together some of our best campus experts to address your top questions. This is Bethel Basics.
My name is Mitch Fisk. I'm the Director of Admissions here at Bethel. Today I have Robin Reilersdam, who is our Provost. Robin has been here at Bethel since 2021. She has an extensive experience in higher education. Here's where it gets interesting. In her role over academics, she has an undergrad degree in biology and a PhD in molecular biology, as I understand it. Yeah. So welcome into our conversation today to talk a little bit about academics.
Thanks, Mitch. It's good to be here.
Can you talk a little bit about what a provost does? Some people may not understand what that role is responsible for within the higher education landscape.
Sure. Actually, that's one of the first questions I get in church when I introduce myself to someone new. What is that? So a provost is, sometimes I joke that I'm the nerd in chief. I oversee all of academics, over the learning and the support of learning here. But last week I ran into the term Chief Learning Officer, and I really like that. So my job is to support the great work that the faculty do in the classroom and the other people who support that, through the library and through all the other support services we have around teaching and learning.
Yeah. Well, and you talk a little bit about, you mentioned the classroom, but you also talked about elements that support the classroom but really exist outside of it. I think a lot of parents and students think through, how is college going to be different in the classroom? From a rigor standpoint, is it going to take more time? Is it going to be harder? Can you talk a little bit about what families can expect in the transition from high school and into college?
Yeah, I think one of the big transitions that I saw in my students when I was a professor, and that is true here at Bethel, is that it is a much more independent learning situation. So you need more self-regulation and self-discipline to do work outside of the classroom. So in high school, you are with your teacher usually every day or for big blocks of time. And you just spend less time with your professor and your classmates in the classroom. In college, there's more work that has to happen outside of that classroom. And the real learning happens, when you put in the time outside.
Yeah. And really, I think a lot of times we talk about that transition. In high school, you're kind of being told what to do, and you're sort of regulated in your time span in your day. Once you get into college, there's a little more opportunity for you from a schedule standpoint, but also recognizing there's flexibility that comes into that schedule. As you think through the Bethel experience, the education experience, we talk a lot about faith as well. Can you talk a little bit about that integration of faith and learning as it pertains to the Bethel experience?
Yeah, so one of the amazing things at Bethel is that every professor you're going to have in a classroom is going to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, right? That is a non-negotiable at Bethel, that the faculty and the staff, all of us, are Christians teaching students. We're a community of Christians who express our faith in a wide range of ways. There's going to be prayer in your classrooms, but the prayer might be saying the Lord's Prayer together. Or in another classroom or on another day, it might be more spontaneous prayer that other Christian traditions are more comfortable with. But what is true is that your professors love the Lord and their faith is really important to them. And they also love their discipline. And they are searching for ways to connect the two, to have their faith inform how they view their discipline, and have their discipline also inform how they view their faith. I think one of the beautiful things about the Bethel integration of faith and learning is that it also calls students to participate in that, not just to hear in this bioethics class, this is the way you apply your faith to this hard medical situation,
Sure.
but to challenge students to say, what is your faith?
Yeah.
And how does Scripture lead into this, and to lead them in that process
Right.
of
Right.
applying it.
Right.
Because that's what's going to set them up for a life of faithful Christian service.
And it's not really just an academic journey at
It
that
isn't,
point. It's a
no.
spiritual journey. It's a development of their faith. Our faculty are scholars, certainly. A lot of them are probably writing and doing research within their field. But then there's a desire to them, to use another word, to be teachers.
Yeah.
And in that classroom. So can you talk a little bit about how the intersection of being a scholar, but then also getting to that practical side of the teaching and the educational process that takes place in the classroom?
So I think one of the neat things about the faculty at Bethel is they are scholars. They love their disciplines. And they are just, and that's why I sometimes call myself nerd in chief. It is that deep love for this particular discipline that got them into their PhD programs in the first place.
Sure.
They love it so much that they don't just want to do the discovery and the integration by themselves, but they want to share it with their students.
Sure.
And so I think that love overflows into their teaching.
Yeah.
And they also really value the discipline of teaching.
Right.
And education and helping students learn. So they are both in some ways scholars of their discipline and
Sure.
scholars of teaching.
Yeah.
So you see that in a variety of ways. I think you see it a lot in the active learning that goes on in many of the classrooms. So a lot of the class projects or the get out of the classroom and into the community work often connects to a professor's professional interests
Sure.
in their discipline. So they're able to apply it and get students engaged in the
Yeah.
learning too in that way.
As families are looking at Bethel, odds are good they're looking at other institutions as well. Every institution is unique. What are some of the unique things, and I think I've already heard some of it, what are some of the unique things that come into the Bethel curriculum as a whole
Sure.
that it might be different from other institutions that
Yeah.
families are looking at?
So I have had a few of them, and they're worth hitting them again. First of all, the curriculum is integrated with the Christian faith.
Sure.
Right? And this isn't the curriculum, but the faculty know you and care about you
Yeah.
as a child of God.
Yeah.
But in terms of the curriculum for undergraduates, it's really kind of, I can talk about it in two ways. One is the general education curriculum that all students take.
Sure.
And the other is in your major.
Yeah.
So I would say one of the hallmarks of our gen ed curriculum is that it's interdisciplinary.
Okay.
So a lot of curricula at other schools say you'll take a class in math, and you'll take a class in biology, and you'll take a class in social science, and you'll take a writing class. You know,
Yep.
it's, tick these off and you're done. At Bethel, a lot of the general education curriculum is interdisciplinary because life is that way,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
If you have a problem in your business, you're probably going to be using some numbers
Yeah.
to help attack that, but you're also going to be using a lot of information about how people work, right? What's that psychology behind this? How do systems work? You might be using information about how governments work if your
Sure.
business interacts with governments.
Yeah.
It's always a bigger problem than just a simple math problem
Sure.
or a simple question in psychology. And so our general education curriculum, the interdisciplinary nature of it, kind of brings that out. So
Okay.
can I give you an example?
Yes.
We have a class that most of our first year students take called Inquiry Seminar.
Yep.
A lot of schools have a class in writing and a class in speaking. In our Inquiry Seminar, students learn how to write and how to speak, but they do it while looking at a topic that brings in other disciplines too.
Okay.
So let me tell you about some of the topics that are on there. Sleep, what's the big deal, right? Science in the movies. Things that are going to let students write
Sure.
and do research and speak, but also we're going to bring in interesting ways of seeing the world holistically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's I think a hallmark of our gen ed. In the majors, we have fantastic majors here, and a lot of it is due to the faculty, but also it's due to really thoughtful curricula that
Sure.
keeps the content up to date. Almost all of our majors have something in them that gets students into the workplace to prepare them for jobs.
Okay.
So whether that's in nursing, all the clinical work that they do in hospitals and other clinical settings, or internships, or in social work, they do field education.
Sure.
Almost every major has that embedded in it,
Yep.
and every major has the opportunity for that.
Okay.
So it's up to date, it's relevant, and again, it's infused with Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, and I talked earlier about that hands-on component
Yeah.
sort of in the classroom.
Right.
But it takes it a step beyond. It's not just a field trip. Like the phrase
Right.
field experience
Yeah.
speaks to, hey, there's something that's going to come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the concept. I think a lot of colleges and a lot of mindset is a 4-year degree is broken into your first 2 years are gen ed and your second 2 years are, whether it's psychology or whatever that is, that's really when you focus. And I think what I heard you saying is when you're a freshman, whatever your major is, there's going to be some introduction to that starting day one.
Absolutely.
So that it's not just a 2-year focus on it, it really becomes a 4-year focus on it.
I think that's absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, and I think hearing from, in my time here at Bethel, hearing comments from alums and business people in the area, what I consistently hear, and it's not just said to me, it's people that are saying it like I'm a third person, right? So
Yeah.
they're sharing it. Alums enjoy hiring alums because, one, there's a shared commonality and experience. The thing that means a little more to me is business professionals that have no connection to Bethel that say, aha, we want more Bethel students. Or I hear this a lot in the health sciences realm too.
Yeah.
We want more Bethel nurses in our organization.
Absolutely.
And as you think about that, what are some of the things that you see as needs for students that are struggling is the wrong word, but there's an element that students need support in a lot of different ways. So can you talk a little bit about the support structure in place for students during their time as a student here at Bethel?
Absolutely. So in elementary and high school education, we call it differentiated learning, right? So we meet students where they are and help them get to the end point by whatever path that means for the students.
Sure.
So if students are struggling, we have a really robust accessibility office that helps you. So maybe in high school you needed extra time or distraction-free testing,
Sure.
or someone to take notes for you. We have that covered, and I always encourage students and their families to explore that before you even start on campus.
Sure.
And use those services from the very beginning. That's how you tell the professors what you actually know best.
Yeah.
We have a really robust tutoring center that is mostly student tutors, peer tutoring, and students of all sorts of abilities and interests use that. That's a really, really busy place up on the 3rd floor.
Sure.
Also, your professor is always your best first tutor.
Okay.
They're the ones writing the test, so they actually know what's going to be on that test, and they can help you as a student find a different way to get to that information. But sometimes, a peer is a better person than the expert in the room, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think I hear elements of relationship that are taking place as well.
Absolutely.
I know, as I think through my experience in college, the interactions I had with faculty helped motivate me in the class, but then those interactions also impacted me with sort of real life as well. Can you talk just really briefly about the interaction sort of relationally that takes place between faculty and student?
So I think this goes all the way back to our origin. So in the 1800s, our founder, John Alexis Edgren, talked about the relationship between professor, he called it teacher and pupil, as not being one of master and servant, but as friendship, as common learning. They're on this learning journey together. And I think that ideal really is part of the DNA of Bethel, right? That is certainly part of it. And we see that in my favorite example of this is when professors and students work together outside the classroom on research projects.
Sure.
And it might be a student's interest or it might be the professor's professional interest, but they're working together, they're extending knowledge for the whole world
Right.
in this area. There are some professors who regularly publish in professional journals with their
Sure.
students or take them to professional meetings where the students present, and
Yeah.
often those students are holding their own with graduate students and postdocs.
Sure.
Those close relationships let students grow and develop in ways that just can't be replicated in
Right.
other ones. And
Yeah.
they're so fun to watch that.
Yeah. Well, I think as a parent who has had kids go through the college experience, what I was looking for certainly was academic rigor, want them to be developed in the classroom, but there's an element of relational development that's going to take place. And what excites me about the Bethel experience, which you've just confirmed, is faculty are interested in guiding them in that academic pursuit, but they're also coming alongside of them to help them grow emotionally, to help them grow socially. And it probably exists differently depending on the student, depending on the class, depending on the faculty member. But hearing that faculty are interested in pursuing that and want to engage in that, those are the things that I want for my kids as they go through that experience. Robin, we could talk. I could sit and ask you questions for hours. I think we're limited in time. So I just want to thank you so much for your time today. If there is an opportunity, if parents have questions, if students have questions, are they able to reach out to you to have any of those conversations in greater detail?
Yeah, you can email me at provost@bethel.edu.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in today.